Incidentally, the magnetic theory is based upon a very simple fact, namely that what we call empty air is not empty at all. It is the most profoundly used all the elements that we know anything about. We all live within air and have our being, and we know that if air fails, we die. But what we do not realize is that air is not just some oxygen or helium or something of this nature. Air is something in itself. It is a substance of itself. It is a substance so real and so important that it's almost impossible to estimate it. It is a tremendous field of magnetic energy. The atmosphere carries the magnetism of the sun. The study of the magnetic powers of the sun will be more or less clearly understood by the study of the seasons. Winter, summer, spring, and these things have all to do with a magnetic factor in the air. And we think of it only as in trying to explain it as a physical astronomical phenomena, since as the rotation and revolutions of the sun and planets. But each of these planets is a field of magnetic energy. And this energy comes to us through what we call air. One thing we have learned from television is that air transmits. We know, for instance, that we can have all kinds of programs on the air at the same time. And they can come from all directions. And they can overlap and interlap. But each one will remain separately identified as though it was moving in a channel or a circuit of its own. Something went through was vibration. And this vibration in the magnetic field can be divided into an infinite complexity of separate emanations. In other words, if we had 1,000 different channels, they could be differentiated in the magnetic field so that each one would be broadcast correctly and properly for whatever it is. Thus we realize there's something out there besides air, something besides helium and oxygen, something besides the ordinary factors we take into consideration scientifically.
Here's the thing. The Talmud says that the Messiah would come when everybody's good or everybody's bad. There is such a saying in the Talmud. So the Sabbateans said like this: it's impossible for everybody to be good, it's easy to be bad. So they turned around the Torah and they said, if you do an evil deed, then you will use up the energy of the universe, and it'll collapse, and you'll force Messiah to come because you will have used up all the evil in the world.
CERN is a highly secretive international agency that has repeatedly made waves in the news for its mind-boggling experiments and discoveries. It's an intergovernmental organization funded by 23 member states with the goal of researching particle physics and advancing scientific knowledge. Only time will tell if CERN's controversial experiments will lead to an age of magic and wonder, or one of terror and destruction. We are all aware that they are playing with fire, and one wrong move, like what happened on July the 7th, 2022, can cause devastating consequences for us and for our planet.
Oof. Now, on the surface, CERN looks like a prestigious government agency that seeks to better the world. But what if it had a secret agenda that had been hidden from the public's view?
For years, CERN has been a name synonymous with the occult. In 2016, they made headlines after footage was uncovered of scientists performing a human sacrifice at the Large Hadron Collider grounds. The video shows multiple haunting figures dressed in black robes walking ritualistically before a woman is attacked. Later explained as a faked human sacrifice, which the organization claimed was a prank, they didn't condone it as it undermined the scientific nature of our work. Now, although CERN claims this incident to be a hoax, many Redditors and internet theorists believe that this is proof of a secret agenda. Combined with their hailing of Lord Shiva, many people think that they're attempting to open a portal into another dimension by tapping into dark forces. Lord Shiva is known to represent the destroyer of worlds, and the organization loves him so much that they have a life-size statue of him at their headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, which is also where the supposedly fake human sacrifice occurred. Whether this is true or not, well, it remains to be seen, but certainly makes for an interesting thought experiment as we explore the depths of what CERN is truly capable of.
And look at this character right here, Aleister Crowley. He's out there in January through March of 1918 doing a series of magical experiments called the Emelantra workings, in which he is said to have opened a portal to another dimension, allowing an entity, I believe a demon, named Lamb, to enter through it. Now, this is the drawing that he made in 1918 of this character that he apparently had some interaction with. You know, if you look at this picture, it's curiously similar to something we might call an alien gray today in pop culture. So, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot of research on this character to realize he was into some really, really dark stuff. So why did I bring this up? This is, 1918 time frame. Well, you have this character who's very much a part of the early space program, Jack Parsons, who is basically a disciple, practically an heir apparent to Crowley and all of his activities. Well, supposedly, Crowley's portal was further enlarged by Jet Propulsion Laboratory founder and rocket fuel scientist Jack Parsons. Okay, this is the guy who was one of the founding members of JPL. It was a big part of NASA and the space program. And he's out there with Scientology and Dianetics founder L. Ron Hubbard in March of 1946 at a location that later became known as Area 51. They're doing all kinds of ceremonial sex magic, and they called it the Babylon working. And it's very similar to the Emelantra working, based on ceremonial sex magic. But unlike Crowley, however, they were not as adept at opening and closing portals, and theirs apparently stayed open, and the modern UFO era began 1 year later, in 1947, the same year Crowley died. So, this is all going on about the same time you've got Admiral Byrd going down there for Operation High Jump. And a decade later, we got the founding of NASA. And these are the characters, okay? Freemasons, Nazis, and occultists creating the space program.
Scientists at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, or CERN, as it's better known, have discovered a way to open up an interdimensional portal. CERN's scientific discoveries are yet again turning everything we thought we knew about the universe on its head, changing the fields of physics and astronomy as we know it.
We just had collisions at an unprecedented energy, 13.6 tera electron volt, and this opens a new era of exploration at CERN.
This time, the discovery has been made by a team of physicists and technologists working on the Large Hadron Collider, the world's most powerful particle accelerator. In today's video, we'll be taking a deep dive into the secretive intergovernmental organization and how they, in theory, were able to open up a portal into another dimension.
One of the biggest scientific experiments ever conducted, bringing together over 10,000 scientists from 85 different countries, the LHC measures over 27 kilometers in circumference and stretches beneath the Swiss-French border. Weighing over 7,000 tons, the LHC is so powerful that scientists were able to create the conditions that occurred 1/1000th of a second after the universe began.
The goal of the Large Hadron Collider with heavy ions, and namely the ALICE experiment in particular, is to recreate conditions that existed some 10 microseconds after the Big Bang, when all of the matter in the universe was in the form of very hot soup of quarks and gluons.
They've been conducting experiments with the LHC since 2008, where they recreated the Big Bang. However, in July 2022, they attempted their biggest experiment to date. Officially, the experiment was supposed to learn more about Higgs boson and how particles interact with each other, but rumours have abounded that they were attempting to open a portal to an alternate universe.
So now we are ready to inject in the LEC in beam 1 and beam 2,
Start power
3
group
bunches, 3 nominal bunches, up to 10 to the 11 protons
Start
per bunch.
power group
These bunches will be set up for injection
1235.
and getting ready for ramp.
On the fateful day of the experiment, CERN's control room was flooded with reports from scientists all around the world that something had gone wrong. It said that when the experiment was over, a strange energy had been released that couldn't be explained. Now, this energy has come to be known as the portal incident. For over 14 hours during the experiment, the Earth's crucial geomagnetic field that protects us from the sun's radiation was weakened. Solar wind was able to pass through a massive gap that had been torn open by CERN's experiment, causing a massive fluctuation in the global electrical grid. The worldwide LHC computing grid was impacted, which provides data storage for over 500,000 CPUs in 200 computer centers globally.
The Earth's geomagnetic field is crucial to supporting life on Earth, as it protects us from solar radiation, cosmic radiation, and other space-borne threats. And while the incident was short-lived and the world's electrical grid returned to normal within a few hours, no one can be sure as to what happened during that time.
It's no coincidence that an event like this has never been recorded in the entirety of human history until CERN's experiment.
When you're talking about the Large Hadron Collider and physics experiments at this level, the key word is energy. What they're trying to do there is approach the energies that happened at the beginning of the Big Bang. When all the energy that was released, some of it stayed energy, a lot of it turned into matter. And so if you want to understand the nature of that matter, you need to pull it apart and have a good look at it. And you do that by banging particles into each other that smash into their constituent particles, elements, even smaller and smaller and smaller subatomic elements. And you need huge energies to do that.
Current theories that are emerging are numerous. Some of them are pretty ridiculous, but many of them actually have scientific weight behind them.
All right, just a quick primer on EMP. EMP is shorthand for electromagnetic pulse. It's generated by detonating a small nuclear warhead 200 miles above the Earth's atmosphere, which then sets up an electrostatic discharge, cascades down to the Earth's surface, overloads our electrical grid, blows it all out. Now, if there was ever an attack on mainland United States, 2 to 3 small EMP weapons, if detonated, could basically shut down the United States electrical grid for months, even years. 2 congressional studies have shown the casualty rate could go as high as 90% dying within the first year.
Quantum physicist Max Laughlin, a 17-year-old genius known as the smartest kid in the world right now, believes that CERN destroyed the universe when they conducted their experiment. He believes the force exerted during CERN's experiments shifted particles between dimensions, creating what he calls an infinite loop that plucked us out of our current timeline and placed us onto an alternate timeline. His justification for this is the finding of 3 new subatomic particles found in the debris that had not been discovered by any other experiment before.
Other scientists believe that CERN may have accidentally opened a portal to an alternate universe, allowing beings or substances from another dimension to pass through into ours. Demons are one explanation, with some saying that CERN opened a portal to hell with the Large Hadron Collider.
And look at this character right here, Aleister Crowley. He's out there in January through March of 1918 doing a series of magical experiments called the Emelantra workings, in which he is said to have opened a portal to another dimension, allowing an entity, I believe a demon, named Lamb, to enter through it.
Many have drawn similarities with the Book of Revelations 9:2, which speaks of a bottomless pit that angels who have sinned are cast into. Theorists believe that the mysterious energy released during the experiment is from this bottomless pit, many have begun to associate the Large Hadron Collider's 7.2-kilometre circular structure with the ring of the pit. This ties closely with theories from within CERN attempting to open portals for demons to enter our world via the collider.
This phase of prepare ramp, will be setting up all the systems in the LHC, from the radio frequency cavities to the magnets, the collimators. All these systems will be getting ready, synchronized, to start a ramp period together in 1,200 seconds. This ramp period of 20 minutes will be increasing the energy of the beam gradually up to a record energy that have never been achieved before in any particle accelerator, up to 6.8 tera electron volts.
Many fear that the July 7th incident was them succeeding, and that the bottomless pit will open to punish the sins of those who have toyed with powers beyond their understanding. We know that CERN's experiment disrupted the Earth's magnetic field and found more new particles that can be used to transfer matter and potentially open up new interdimensional portals. Whether they were successful in their attempt or not is still unknown.
We may never know what happened on that day, and indeed whether CERN did succeed in opening a portal to another world. The organisation has remained incredibly tight-lipped on what actually happened and what experiments they're performing, further fueling the theories that they have indeed opened a portal to another world.
The Higgs boson, of course, was kind of a holy grail to find, because we knew it was there, and finally we managed to find it. And now there is a lot of work going on to study it. It's a little bit like you discover a new cave in a mountain, then you take a lot of time in order to explore the cave and to understand how this cave goes, if there are paintings, if there are no paintings.
CERN is a highly secretive international agency that has repeatedly made waves in the news for its mind-boggling experiments and discoveries. It's an intergovernmental organisation funded by 23 member states with the goal of researching particle physics and advancing scientific knowledge.
A new chapter, Run 3 of the Large Hadron Collider, will give us collisions at higher energy than before, and also an amount of data equivalent to the total amount of data recorded in the previous two runs. And this, of course, will increase our opportunities for discovery or for understanding the fundamental laws of the universe.
So they turned around the Torah and they said, if you do an evil deed, then you will use up the energy of the universe, and it'll collapse.
In its simplest form, CERN's main purpose is to explore the fundamentals of the universe in order to gain a deeper understanding of how it works and to unlock new capabilities like time travel. Since its inception in 1954, CERN has been pushing the boundaries of science and technology by constructing sophisticated equipment to test their theories, including the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC, a 17-mile-long particle accelerator. Now, on the surface, CERN looks like a prestigious government agency that seeks to better the world. But what if it had a secret agenda that had been hidden from the public's view?
For years, CERN has been a name synonymous with the occult. In 2016, they made headlines after footage was uncovered of scientists performing a human sacrifice at the Large Hadron Collider grounds. The video shows multiple haunting figures dressed in black robes walking ritualistically before a woman is attacked. Later explained as a faked human sacrifice, which the organisation claimed was a prank, they didn't condone it as it undermined the scientific nature of our work. Now, although CERN claims this incident to be a hoax, many Redditors and internet theorists believe that this is proof of a secret agenda. Combined with their hailing of Lord Shiva, many people think that they're attempting to open a portal into another dimension by tapping into dark forces. Lord Shiva is known to represent the destroyer of worlds, and the organisation loves him so much that they have a life-size statue of him at their headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, which is also where the supposedly fake human sacrifice occurred. Whether this is true or not, well, it remains to be seen, but certainly makes for an interesting thought experiment as we explore the depths of what CERN is truly capable of. By now we've discussed in detail the theories behind their July 7th experiment and the potential outcomes of it. But let's take a step back and look at the science behind the Large Hadron Collider. The LHC is essentially a particle accelerator that accelerates protons to near light speed. These protons then collide with each other, creating subatomic particles, allowing them to study their properties. These collisions create an immense amount of energy, approximately 600 million times hotter than the center of the Sun.
It's also worth noting that the LHC is not only a particle accelerator, it's also a time machine due to its ability to recreate conditions from fractions of a second after the Big Bang.
This means scientists can have an insight into what happened during the first moments of our universe and could potentially lead to a better understanding of dark matter, antimatter, and other cosmic mysteries.
It could have opened a portal by causing particles to accelerate to such speeds that when they collide, a massive force of energy is exerted, creating ripples in time and potentially allowing matter to travel between realities.
Regardless of the theories, we must remember that CERN's experiments are done for scientific advancement and knowledge, not to open portals to other dimensions. The organisation is highly regulated, with safety protocols put in place to ensure no experiment can cause any harm.
However, as humans have been known to do, we can't help but speculate and theorise. Until definite proof is revealed, all we can do is wait and see what CERN discovers next. CERN's experiments are highly contentious, with many applauding them for pushing the boundaries of science, while others, well, they're worried that they may be tempting fate or even unleashing forces beyond our control.
They've employed some of modern-day science's biggest names and brightest minds to work on projects like the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC. One such scientist is a rock star physicist, Brian Cox, who notably did a TEDx talk in 2008 on CERN's work on the LHC.
Is the Large Hadron Collider. It's 27 kilometres in circumference. It's the biggest scientific experiment ever attempted. Over 10,000 physicists and engineers from 85 countries around the world have come together over several decades to build this machine. What we do is we accelerate protons, so hydrogen nuclei, around at 99.999999% the speed of light. Right, at that speed.
One of the first goals of this impressive particle accelerator was to recreate the conditions of the Big Bang, so scientists could study the conditions and reactions that occurred just after the birth of the universe.
When asked why this was the goal, Cox said, "The aim of particle physics is to understand what everything's made of and how they stick together."
Elaborating that through the LHC we'll be able to unlock secrets of the universe, like antimatter, dark matter and more. The sheer size of the accelerator means that we can even see how the Big Bang came to be. But it's not just the scale of the Large Hadron Collider that has experts worried, but also its implications. As Cox explains in his talk, by recreating conditions of the Big Bang and looking for microscopic particles like Higgs boson, CERN is essentially proving Einstein's theory that matter and energy are interchangeable.
Now, while this could lead to great scientific discoveries, it also means that CERN has the potential to create miniature black holes wherever they like, which could have disastrous consequences if left unchecked.
The terrifying experiments that they've conducted have been highly controversial, and it's not hard to understand why. From constructing a human-sized magnetic cage in 2014 to attempting to teleport data from one location to another, CERN is forever pushing the boundaries of modern science and technology. But some worry that the results are too dangerous to be experimented with.
As long as CERN continues to conduct mysterious experiments, the questions surrounding the secretive organisation will not go away. And will they discover something amazing, or have they already gone too far?
Only time will tell if CERN's controversial experiments will lead to an age of magic and wonder, or one of terror and destruction. We are all aware that they are playing with fire, and one wrong move, like what happened on July the 7th, 2022, can cause devastating consequences for us and for our planet.
Well, for now, all we can do is continue to closely monitor CERN and their experiments and hope that they use their technology and their knowledge responsibly.
The mystery of what happened on July the 7th and the Large Hadron Collider's potential to open portals remain unanswered, leaving us uncertain.
Any nation that possesses nuclear weapons has the capacity, if they can have launch systems, rockets, to, of course, set off an EMP. China has been aggressively researching this. There's a lot of reports on this, of China aggressively researching EMP strikes.
Now, you mentioned 90% of Americans could be impacted. Are we talking about 90% of Americans in the whole country, or just in the area of the weapon?
Okay, picture what happens is if you detonate a weapon 200 miles up, the footprint, in other words, the line of sight, would cover the entire eastern United States, 3 weapons, the entire United States. So it would be cataclysmic. We're talking about 90% dying, because if you shut down the grid, electricity is the basic fundamental of any modern society. What happens then? You lose water. Where would you get your, okay, let me ask you a question. You live in Manhattan, right? Or nearby?
I do.
We get, let's say New York City was EMP. Where would you get your water a day from now? Where would you get your food a week from now? All of these things together add up to disaster.
نحن שמعت على المافيا زي نحن איך קוראים לך? נעים מאוד, ששון המחסל. מחסל?
הבהלת אותי.